Hey, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, you're right now calling into me, Rain Dallin, and I'm here once again with LauraVision. And have you remembered to subscribe? Have you subscribed? You need to do it right now. First link in the description, subscribe to our channel. This is going to be the video about semi-final 2. And how do you feel about this semi-final?
I feel completely different to what we just talked about for semi-final 1, because it's kind of not as competitive. It's more kind of like open, I think. Like you've got songs that could go through, could not go through. It just seems so much more open than a very tough semi-final 1, I think.
Yeah, it definitely feels like you can make the case for most of these songs, because there's, again, things can kind of like eliminate each other, and then there's songs which wouldn't have made it in semi-final 1, which has the possibility to do it here. But we do have some, also strong ones here in the mix, but maybe some songs are getting elevated in terms of how well we think they could do, because they have this kind of competition instead of like the semi-final 1 competition. But we're going to be talking about the 10 songs we see that are going through, and we have 5 which we agree on are definitely going through, and then we have 5 which we're kind of like, we've been discussing, we're not sure about, and both haven't agreed, but we've agreed to put them here in this top 10. But a song that we had no question about seeing going through is Poland. And what is it about Poland which makes it a sure qualifier?
The voice, definitely. His voice is one of the best of the year, probably, or one of the best male voices anyway. And Sam Ryder as well, just throwing that in there. I think the staging as well, there could be some potential for good staging with the river and the waterfall on the stage, if they're going to use that. Yeah, it's just got that kind of like standout jury favorite written all over it. Like you just know it's going to get a lot of jury points in the final as well. So yeah, it's just a definite qualifier, I think.
Yeah, it's like an undeniable song, even if for me it's like more towards the bottom of my personal list. Like I can't question its musical quality and also its appeal. It's so massive, the appeal it has, and also something which is being talked about as a winning contender, and I think it's for good reasons. I don't think maybe it's overhyped. I think it's actually seeing a trend in Eurovision, and also like doing the complete opposite of what Måneskin did last year, which is usually what happens where you have a completely different winner the next year. So I think Poland will have a good time in the final, and I think it could be top 10 actually. So for the whole contest.
Yeah, well, it's not one of my favorites either. Like I think it's like my number 18, which sounds like really low, but it's the thing that you appreciate, even if you don't like it. Like you say, you just know it deserves to do well, even if it's not your type of thing. So it will definitely do well.
Yeah, and another song we hope that will do well is the song Hope from Estonia. STEFAN is bringing the heat. He is bringing the hit. He is bringing so much to the stage. And I think that this song right here is one of the better pop songs this year. And I really feel like it's so different from everything else. And I really enjoy how they were able to create this music video feel at the national final. And I was at first a bit like questioning, okay, why break the fourth wall? Because we've seen that a lot, where it's like the climax of the song is to break the fourth wall, which kind of ruins the staging. But here it absolutely fits. He's a part of our world. He's a part of everything that's going on, and he has big plans for Eurovision, and I can't wait to see them. And I definitely think this will go through, even if I don't think it's going to be one of the top songs at the final. It is definitely going to have its audience and its moment at Eurovision.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's one of my favorite Estonian entries in the past few years, definitely. And I've noticed people don't really like the staging at Eskilal, but I did. I thought it was good. It matches the video. The way he like runs out onto the stage with the guitar, like running around the stage. I think they should just keep all of that and just transfer it to the big stage, and I think it will work out quite well. Like you say, probably not like at the top, but it should give them a fairly decent result, I think. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, there's so much you can do, and you can do more with this this battle happening with the Cowboys and everything. So it's going to be fun to see. Maybe they will bring some pyro to this stage. I don't think it needs it. I think the song is explosive enough itself. Yeah. And the same also goes for the next one, which usually would get a lot of pyro, but maybe they skip it this year since they, you know, blew their budget last year on pyro. We're talking about Finland. We have Jezebel, which is opening up the whole semi-final, and we see it also opening up a path to the final.
Yeah, I think, you know, they've got the benefit of who they are. You know, they are the Rasmus, and people know them, or lots of people know them, so they're going to want to see them. I know people have been a bit negative about this because maybe the live vocals haven't been that great. If he improves them, then that's great. That should be fine. I just think it'll be enough to get them through. You know, the name, the popularity. It's the only rock song in the semi-final. There's not much rock from anyone else apart from Denmark in the other semi-final. So I can just see it going through. But then you think of Blind Channel, who did so well. I don't think it will be quite as good as that, but I think it should be enough to go through.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, with Blind Channel last year, you talked about, oh yeah, this is one of the winning contenders to do, you know, great at Eurovision. Here it's like, yes, it's for sure qualifying, but it's also for sure not going to do that good. It's going to do really well, but it's not a top 10 song. We might be talking about right side of the scoreboard, but it's still with how they visualized it at the final. I think that adds up for maybe a lack of beauty in the vocals. I feel like he struggled a bit also at the pre-parties, but that also makes me just feel like, well, maybe that's just is his live voice. So I think that overall the song quality is good enough, even if it's far down my list. I definitely see it having an appeal, and I think that it's going to look very beautiful with the animations and everything on that big stage.
Yeah, I mean, I love the black and the yellow, kind of like subwoofer colors. Like you've got Norway black and yellow, you've got Finland doing black and yellow as well. So they could do like a collaboration on stage.
True, it's like it's a good trend, and it's I would also say out of all the rock songs this year, you're talking about, you know, San Marino, Denmark, Bulgaria, and Finland. I really think Finland has the most standout entry quality-wise out of the rock songs, even if it's the one I like the least. But one song which I think, you know, both the public and the jury will like very, very much, have very, very high, and another one of those winning contenders for the year, it's Sweden. We are talking about Cornelia, Hold Me Closer, and you think Sweden is one step closer to winning the contest?
I think it could be. I mean, it's not my favorite at all, but I know it's such a big fan favorite and people absolutely love it. I've got quite an unpopular opinion of it because it's not in my personal top 10, but I can't just ignore the fact that it is a big fan favorite and it probably will do quite well, especially with the juries as well. I could see it in the semi-final being like in the top 3, maybe even winning. And winning the whole thing, yeah, maybe. I can see it being up there. Not my personal choice, but I think when we find out how well it actually does in the semi-final, then that could give us more of an idea of how well it could do going into the final. But it's definitely going through, sailing through, yeah.
I think it's I think this probably could win both the public and the jury vote for this semi-final, even if I think that acts that are maybe like third, fourth place in the first one will go higher in the end at Eurovision. I think it's like the most like universally appreciated songs from the semifinal, but also it has the kind of the problem that can end up happening is that people just expect it to go through, and also that people enjoy it but not enough to vote for it. So I think that it's going to be like memorable, but it's also going to be like feeling very Swedish, even if it is different from what Sweden has done the past couple of years. It is, you know, very perfected. At the same time, it feels near and close, and it feels like it's just, you know, improvised almost what's happening on stage, but it's also so well done and crafted that maybe that also will lead to people going for other songs. But I definitely see it being one of the top ones in the semifinal at least.
Oh yeah, I could see it winning the whole semi-final, definitely. And like you say, the public as well, it could win with the public.
And then when we go to the end there, it's like the lights go off, but the lights towards the final, they stay on for the Czech Republic. We think this is definitely going through. And what do you think that the Czech Republic can bring on the Eurovision stage?
I'd like to know what they've actually got planned, because we have no idea. Like the national final performance was just like them. It was simple, but it was good. You know, it was like the blue lighting and the smoke. I don't think they really need that much on stage. Like, I don't know what they could do, but I can't really picture them having like loads of stuff on stage. So they don't really need it. I think it can be simple, but effective, just with lighting, you know, putting the lights off. That's all they need.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of things you can do here to be creative, and I hope that we get something leaning towards like the music video, which I think was great of telling one of the stories. There's many stories you can tell with this song, and I like the fact that we have 3 open spots now. So what do we use these spots for on the stage? Are we going to have, you know, actors, dancers, backing vocals? Who are we going to get on stage? I think that that's going to mean a lot for them when it comes to how well they will do at Eurovision. But it is for sure, I feel like, going to make it through. And it really deserves it also. And it's cool to see it's remained like in the discussion for a final song, even after all this time, when it was like the second song we knew of the season.
Yeah, and the fact it's on last as well, like, does that mean they've got something big planned to have it on last? Maybe.
There's a lot of cool possibilities, and it's also maybe the next one we're going to be talking about, we kind of know what we're getting because it was so well executed in the Australian final. But Australia, we're not the same, and this song is a beautiful song. It is a touching story, and it is really understandable with the way he shouts these lyrics and the way he also unmasks himself. I think it's really good at translating to the viewer what's going on. And if the commentators don't do, you know, a good enough job, as you talked about off air, if the commentators don't do a good job telling the story, he will do it for them, and this won't be forgotten. I feel like even if I don't think it's going to be at the very top, it's not going to be forgotten, and it's going to get the respect it really deserves.
Yeah, I mean, with the juries especially, I think they'll love Australia. It could end up in the top 3 in the semi-final because of that jury love, which I think he will get. I don't know about the public. I mean, I think they should like it. To me, it seems like more of a jury song, like something that they would just gravitate towards. And that should definitely be enough to get him through. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's you know, also interesting you talk about, because I would feel like this would be very much more of a public song because he's leaning towards more of those emotions there, maybe than like maybe strong quality. And he's a great performer, but I do think the public will be more touched by it. But a song that's a bit similar which might, might be leaning more towards the jury, is Azerbaijan and their entry, which we see is going through. And do you think that the jury will save it, or do you think the public will save it?
Oh, Azerbaijan, the jury, definitely. I can't see the public really getting behind this, but then we don't know what the station will be like. The thing with this semi-final that I find really confusing, though, is you've got all these male vocalists like Australia, Poland, Belgium, and Azerbaijan. And I always think of Belgium and Azerbaijan together, because I don't know if they will both go through, or if one of them will go through and not the other. And if so, which one? So those are the two that I'm kind of conflicted about. But Azerbaijan, they normally go through, apart from 2018. Could it be another 2018 situation where they don't make it? I don't know. I think his voice is great. I think the jury should appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know. It's still kind of like borderline for me.
Yeah, I think it's when you looked at also the response it got when it came out, it was like, okay, another one like this. Like a lot of people were like, okay, we get it. That's the trend. But for the majority, this is the first time they're watching, and I think that he will really be captivating as a performer. And I think that with Azerbaijan being so good at staging numbers, most of the time it's a song which I really feel like, yes, the jury will respond to it the most, but I do think it will also have a good like public perception and backing there. But a song that we've talked about being maybe a lot more on the public side, we also see going through, which is the wild horse, I would say, out of this top 10, is Serbia. So Serbia we see going to the final. Do you think that this will be, one of those songs that will be high in the semifinal, or do you think that it will be more towards the bottom?
I think it will be more towards the bottom, because I know it's like a big fan favorite that people love, but I don't see it doing as well as people think, or at least not in the final anyway. But then the more I think of it, the more I think that it could go through, because it's just so different and so like creative. But then I think, like, is it too different to the point where people just don't like it and it just like won't go through at all? So I don't know. It's still kind of like borderline for me. But people like to have quirky things in the final. So this could be like the quirky song of that semi-final that does go through. But yeah, I'm still not that sure though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also the one I'm most unsure about, because it can maybe do extremely well, but it can also be like, okay, this was the fan favorite flop. It's difficult. And I think that with this song, with most people not understanding what it's about and it's important story, it's going to be more of these memeable entries, which could make it so people want to push it through. I'm not sure if memeable and kind of fun Twitter moments and social media happenings equals enough points, but at the same time it has this really unique quality to it. And I think that for the countries who get the commentators explaining the story, it's going to be really understandable what's going on, and I think it's going to be so memorable that we have to see it go through. And I don't picture it being outside of the top 10 for the jury. I think that this will definitely have a lot of jury members won't put it in the top 10s, but I think there's those who do will put it at the very top, like in the top 3 for their points. So it's going to be interesting and fun, and it's going to be really fun after Eurovision to see how many points it got and where it ended up.
Well, it makes me think of Portugal 2019, because I'm thinking, will it end up being like Portugal, where it's like a fan favorite, but it just completely flops? you know, the fan favorite that never gets through. I'm wondering if it could be that kind of situation. Yeah, I can see that happening, but like you say, I can see it going through as well, you know, just about making it. But it's one of the most like uncertain ones of the whole semi-final, I think. Like there's still a big question mark around the whole thing.
Yeah, I think one place where this has, you know, a bigger appeal than Portugal 2019 is where it comes to the people who takes it seriously. It's gonna be a very serious song with Serbia, but it's also for those who just see this as kind of a joke entry, or understands that it's serious, but also wants to kind of like laugh with it and just, okay, this I've never seen something like this before. I think it's gonna be more fun for people, where with Portugal it was more this is beautiful art, which is kind of ridiculous. I think it was too complicated to get, but I think it's so universally understood with the washing off your hands and everything. It's like, okay, this can appeal to all ages in a way. It's going to be fun to see. But we're in this territory, as we talked about before everything started, that this semi is so open that we're mentioning songs that we actually maybe don't even think will go through, but we think overall that it will. Like, for example, one of the best songs of the year, which definitely should be in the final, it is Romania. It is so lively, fun. It is a big fan favorite also in the community with the people who wants to have a party. Usually I would not put this in the top 10 for qualifying, because I think it's too niche for kind of like our bubble, but it is a summer hit waiting to happen, and I want to see it, and I picture it being played all over Europe.
I like it as well. It's really grown on me. And yeah, it is like a summer bop, like the type of thing that should be a summer hit. I think before we film, as you mentioned in the running order, it comes in between two like really good songs. Is it between Estonia and Poland? Okay. So yeah, that could be a problem maybe, but this is another really, really uncertain one, like Serbia. It's that one where you just think it could go either way. A lot of people have said that it won't go through. Yeah, this is tough. I don't know. I'd like it to.
Yeah, I also felt that like people aren't really mentioning it as one of those that goes through, which kind of makes me feel even more that it is going through. I think we can't even like almost picture the appeal. And if you look at who's voting in the semifinal, I think this is going to be the kind of song that a lot of people want, and especially with the other kind of like big pop song, or the other pop songs being a bit more darker in a way. Like Hope is still, you know, a fun song, but it's really gray and a bit dark in his performance, and same most likely for the Czech Republic. So something that he's bringing the sun on stage, and I think that can really help him with advancing, but it is still not going to be one of the top songs. I think we're having a really close call for most of the songs around 10th place. Yeah,
it's one of those borderline qualifiers, I think, definitely. But I can see it just about going through, you know, just about. And I hope it does. I can vote in semi-final too, so I'll vote for it.
And then you need to vote for it for me also, because I'll vote for Latvia, and then you take Romania.
Good. Yeah. If you can vote for Latvia, Norway. Oh, you can't vote for Norway.
I'll try. I'll get an Italian phone.
Yeah, vote for Latvia, Greece, Poland, Iceland, all the good ones, semi-final one, and I'll vote for Romania.
Nice. That's a fair trade. And another fair trade. Okay, so with the next one, we have been trading picks. We've been talking about, okay, which should get the final spot, which should take it. And looking at the field we already have, we decided upon our 10th qualifier, which is Cyprus. And it's strange in a way to talk about Cyprus as like a borderline qualifier when you look at Cyprus's history in the past couple of years, really building up a great reputation with their songs. And this song also it's seemingly, okay, people either forget that it exists or they enjoy it. It seems like I haven't met anyone who's been like, I hate this song. It really feels like one of those songs which people who like it really, really like it, like at the very top like it. And then for most people, it's like, okay, you kind of forget that it's there, but I can't imagine Cyprus not doing a good staging. And I think that the past couple of years had such a great hit record from Hovig to -1 to Eleni and everybody who's created this incredible atmosphere. And I think Cyprus will be able to translate this song well to the stage.
I agree. I just think if they've been in the final for the past like 5 years, then why would they not be again this year? Like, there's no reason for it to not go through. I think it's actually underrated because, you know, like you say, like there are people that love it, but then there's people that are just not talking about it. But I like the fact it's not Fuego, it's not El Diablo or Replay. And I like that, but maybe people don't like that because they want another Fuego, another Replay. Maybe that's why people are kind of not really feeling it. But I love the fact it's different. And yeah, I just think if they've got such a good track record over the past few years, then why should that change now? I mean, I don't know what the staging will be like, but they're usually good staging, like you say. So I think it should be fine.
Yeah, and I think it's also placed in a really good position. It's like right in the middle, right before we get Ireland. And I think that because of Ireland being this, you know, wild, fun bop, which we are all excited to see on stage, but it's going to be most likely a lot of things happening. It's going to be very in your face. This being like more of the kind of like this good transition of everything. This kind of like it's here, it creates this wonderful atmosphere, and then it kind of leaves. I think it's going to be a lot of people going to miss it and be like, I want to hear Cyprus again. And I think that because so much is similar, where you can put things in the same category, Cyprus really stands on its own. And I think that really helps Cyprus because you can't really put it next to another song in the semifinal. So
yeah, it's got that Mediterranean kind of feel that, like you say, there's nothing else like it. You know, I mean, we've got like female bops from Albania and Spain, but this is like mid-tempo, and there's nothing really like it from anyone. So it does stand out, definitely.
Yeah, and it's the closest looking at the list would maybe be like if you talk about Montenegro, but that's more, you know, dramatic and grand in its presentation, where this I'm picturing is going to be very much like Ukrainian's atmosphere, maybe not being as close as many of the other acts will be. I picture probably very close in your face with this staging and the camera work, where this might be like taking you on a journey many different places. It's going to be exciting to see. We also, you know, we have a ranking of the 10 we think are going through, but we also have one song each, which we have kind of like, you know, disagreed on. Okay, should this take the spot of someone else? Will something here not be able to make it? So our borderline qualifiers just getting a shout out. They're not in the top 10, but they're getting our shout out right now. We will get one each, and I will be going for Georgia. I think Georgia is definitely going through. And then when I say definitely, I still picture it being like 7th or 8th in this top 10. But I do feel like it is so out there. There's going to be one of those moments like Georgia was in 2016, where maybe someone we are, you know, familiar with was in this Circus Mircus. We have a really interesting act here, which is it's not typical to get a song like this in the mix, and I think that's going to be refreshing. They haven't impressed me yet with live versions during this pre-party tour, but there's something there. And yes, they don't have the same amount of, you know, hype as Latvia and Norway in terms of this personas that they have, but I do think for the people who are just tuning into Eurovision, expecting something a bit crazy, this can be something that is both crazy, but also appeals in the good quality way.
Well, you mentioned 2016, and that had a really, really British sound, and the UK gave it 12 points. And this, again, it does have kind of like a British feel to it as well. So maybe that will help, because the UK, we can vote in semi-final 2. Maybe there'll be some British fans for it, but I still don't know if that'll be enough for it to actually go through. But I know what you mean. There's something there. You know, it is quirky. Maybe people will like it more than we think. I'm still not sure, though. I'm still not really expecting it to go through, but it would be a pleasant surprise if it does.
Yeah, and I think that one thing with the song is that it also maybe needs that time to grow, where you need to maybe give it a few lessons before you really get into it and hooked on it. So I do think if it's able to, you know, barely make it through on the semifinal and go to the final, I think there's going to get like an even bigger backing, not just because more countries can vote for it, but because more countries are like, okay, I'm ready to see like the Bush and the guy with the glasses and the blue ears and everything coming on stage pretty soon and creating this Circus Mircus experience. It can go many different ways. It can flop completely. But it can also be like one of those like really shocking stories of the year of, okay, Europe got behind this. We didn't see that.
That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy if it does. It's the type of thing where you can't really picture how it can be performed live. Like when you listen to it, I can't imagine what they're going to do. And they are going to do something, which we'll find out. But yeah, it's just hard to kind of visualize what they can do with it.
Absolutely. And I just want to also point out in terms of like the visualization, if it's visualized in the same manner as the pre-parties, then it's not qualifying. They have to do something special and unique, and they haven't really done anything super special this pre-party season, so they haven't really benefited from this. I would say it's been fun to like see them do interviews in their beds and everything, but the thing with it is that I do think this is going to be more for the people who are just tuning in now, because it was so interesting when they teased it last year and people had no clue what is this Circus Mircus thing. And now that we've seen it more in real life, the kind of like that excitement has gone away. But for the new viewers, they never had that excitement. So I think that can actually help them. But someone who also could be going through, in your opinion, your borderline qualifier here is Malta. Why do you think this one can make it?
I mean, it's definitely borderline. Like, I'm definitely not sure if it will, but I think it could. I think it's possible it could go through. Like, it's not a definite non-qualifier. I know there's people that really don't like this. Like, people are not impressed with this at all. For me, it's like a guilty pleasure. Like, I like it probably more than I should. I know that you do as well. We both like it. There's just something about it. It's just like, it's simple, but it's just really catchy. And I wonder if maybe the juries will like her voice, the public will like the fact that it's kind of uplifting and simple but effective. But I could just be wishful thinking. Maybe I'm just being too hopeful and too positive, because I can see it definitely not qualifying as well. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. Like for me also, it's one of my big favorites this year. Like it's a song that just grows for me every single day. I think it's in my top 5 actually of the whole year, and I think this is such a wonderful, magical song. And I do think it's gonna have a good appeal with the audience. I just have this feeling that this might be sabotaged a bit by the jury here, even if she as a performer deserves to go through. I see this. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be exciting to see it on stage. It's going to be exciting to see it brought to life, and it's also has gotten like some really good like Spotify placements. Like her top playlist right now is this Confidence playlist on Spotify, where her song is #2 on the list. So a lot of new listeners are like, "Oh, this I'm into," but a lot of people from all over the world might be listening to that list. So maybe it's not mostly Europeans who hear it and don't get familiar with it. So it's difficult to say, but she has gotten a good interest with the public who's outside of the hardcore Eurovision bubble. It seems like, and she's one of those acts which I really want to see succeed, and maybe she will, because she is the most hopeful out of all the acts in the semifinal.
It's one of the most unpredictable ones, I think, of the whole. I mean, we mentioned Serbia being unpredictable. I think Malta is the same. It's just you just don't know.
Yeah, it's wild also because we talked about this semifinal one being the strongest and this being so open, but there's still incredibly strong songs that we haven't even talked about from this one. Like with Montenegro hasn't even been mentioned, and we don't know what's happening with Israel, and it's going to be in Belgium. Even Belgium isn't even what we think is borderline, and they usually do really well, but we also have talked about it not actually being maybe the right song because it doesn't really go anywhere, whereas Malta has that moment. It does. So it's going to be exciting. I think definitely Malta benefits from this large stage. This is really one of those stadium anthem songs. It was great in London, but you picture it on a big stage, and that's where it belongs. And it's going to be, I would be really happy to see it go through. I would be really, really happy to see it in the final. I think the final needs it, even if I'm uncertain.
I hope it does. Again, it's something that I can vote for. So I'll try and help her out.
I actually remove my vote from Romania. I love you, Romania, but please give a few extra ones to Malta, because that's what we need in the world right now.
Yeah. But like you said, with Belgium, it's kind of like flat and not really going anywhere. But Malta is a lot more uplifting. So maybe that kind of has the advantage over that if we're comparing, they're completely different songs, but it's like mid-tempo, not a ballad, not really that upbeat. So maybe it does have its advantages, I think, but it's just still quite unclear.
Yeah, it's difficult because songs like this have done great at Eurovision, and songs like this have flopped at Eurovision. It's a difficult genre and style of song to perform, but I would be really happy to see it make it through, because looking at this list also, that's my favorite in the semi, and I want it in the final, because then I can vote for it. And I want to vote.
I think it could be one of my favorites as well from that semi-final. Like, it's probably in my top 3. I feel really bad for liking it so much because people say, oh, it's so generic, it's really like basic, it's like a Melfest reject, but I just can't get it out of my head. Like, it's just so catchy, and I can't stop myself from liking it. So I'm not the only one, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think its placement also, it's going to build this bridge between Circus Mircus and the stripper from San Marino. So it's going to be very different, and I am getting more and more hope, but it's also, as we talked about, it is so difficult. And now we're also wondering, okay, what do you at home think? Like, do you think, before you tell us who you think are going through, how do you feel about Malta? Do you think Malta can make it? And then also let us know who you think are guaranteed to go through, and who you think, maybe also who you think is actually going to be absolutely last. Let's be brutal. Let's now rank which one is going to be last. No, maybe let's not rank. Maybe should we rank the last one?
What, from each semi-final, like from both of them?
So we could start with semi-final 2. Which song is getting 17th? Oh, this is rough, but this is the thing we have to do. It's
so I actually really like North Macedonia. I like that song, but that's the type of thing that I can picture coming last, unfortunately, and just getting forgotten about. Yeah, maybe North Macedonia.
Yeah, I agree. I was also going to say North Macedonia. And I think that the song has really grown on me. It's one of those songs which really, her live vocals and her passion for this song really adds a lot to it. But I'm going to appreciate it, but I'm never going to vote for it. And I think a lot of people are not going to vote for it, even if they enjoy it. It's not a bad song, but it's not a a top song for most people.
Yeah. It's grown on me as well. Like over the past few weeks, I've started to actually really like it and listen to it more. But yeah, it's just, I can't see it going far.
And then we had the difficulty of semi-final one, which we think is the greatest semi-final in history, which is going to be 17th. I can be fair this time since you went first last time. These words, I was not okay. I think Croatia, even though I would love, it's one of my big favorites this year, so it hurts to say, but I think maybe that's a potential last place, because I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it, but a lot of people are not going to be voting for it. And I think then more polarizing entries will get more points, and I think that ultimately it can become a hit, but it's not going to be hitting high on the scoreboard.
I was literally going to say the exact same thing. Yeah, Croatia. It's just, I mean, you look at all of them and you think there's so many really good ones, and unless maybe Armenia has like a really boring performance, and they're both quite similar as well, actually. They're both, girls with guitars, but which one is better? I'd say Croatia could come last overall, but it's not that bad. Like it's good, but it's just probably not good enough.
Yes, it's difficult to say, but it also, we both agreed on this one seeming to be like the last place here. And the thing with the semi is that I feel like with semifinal one, you can make the case for absolutely every single song to be able to go through. And had we talked about, if we pushed Armenia or Croatia to the second semifinal, I think we could have it in our top 10 here, but it's because of the circumstances of these semifinals and how unbalanced they are. Then I think that really strong songs there are going to be absolutely at the bottom, because they have to, because it's such a strong semifinal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Somebody has to be at the bottom. Like that's just how it works. And I can see Croatia being very close to the bottom, if not right at the bottom. But it's a shame because it's not bad. Like it's a good song, but not quite enough for people to actually vote for.
Yes, I hope we're wrong. I hope Croatia ends up just winning the whole thing, but until because that's it would be amazing to see the Guilty Pleasure all the way to the top. But there's so many great songs. Here's Eurovision, so it's going to be a fun season no matter what. And I think we have, with these top 10s also, in terms of what's going to be in the final, I think it's going to be fun finals. Just to summarize for semifinal 2, we had Poland, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Czech Republic, Australia, Azerbaijan, Serbia, Romania, and Cyprus going through for certain, and then Georgia and Malta being borderline, kind of also together with Cyprus, but we put Cyprus, together with Serbia, but we put Serbia up there at the top 10. It's going to be really exciting to see where things get placed this year, because I do think certain songs, like for example, with Sweden, no matter the spot that they get, they're going to be really stand out. But then there are songs that can be really lost in the shuffle, especially if there's a lot of heavy ballads going through. So it's going to be exciting to see.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the voting, to analyze everything when it's all done. I can't wait.
That's going to be absolutely wonderful, and that's why this is the most wonderful time of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely better than Christmas.
True.